Guys, it's your favorite federal informant. Listen, you guys, I am on vacation, but I wanted to pop in and talk about this thing that's going on. I know you guys heard about it. A lot of people have questions. I wanted to come and address it. If you guys don't know, Diddy told the defense and the prosecution that he wants them both to turn in similar cases like Diddy's. Okay. And by similar, it means you got convicted of one or two things of the Mann Act and you had no criminal priors. Now, a lot of the Diddy goons, the Diddy idiots, were like, ooh, Diddy gonna walk? He ain't even been doing jail time. To which I said, okay, stop, stop, stop. Okay. Diddy might have beat Rico. Okay. And it was a it was a crushing blow to victims, to women, to anybody that doesn't stand with abuse, right? Did he beat Rico? But there's more to that story. But let's stick on topic. Okay. And apparently the jury said, we don't care what happened with Jane and Cassie, but because you were their boyfriend or their man, I guess you own them and you can do what you want. However, the one thing that kept coming up that a lot of people overlooked was that he was convicted on two major sex crimes. The Mann Act, they're major, major federal crimes. Okay. And I did some research. I talked to my legal people and I took notes. So, whenever I take notes, this is going to be good. Okay. Now, what did the judge ask for? He asked for comparable case law or statistics on similar Mann convictions. Now, first of all, this request is not unusual, but it is never neutral. It usually signals one or two things. One, that the judge is exploring options to justify a lighter sentence or release, especially if they're asking about parole eligibility, probation, or sentencing ranges. Two, the judge is building a case for why Diddy should not get leniency. By establishing how others were treated in similar cases, they could argue that letting Diddy off lightly would be inconsistent or unjustified. So the big question, all right, I'm actually being texted like Taysa. So the big question is what context the judge asks us. And the thing is, if we look at the Diddy case, this is where things get tricky. The judges already denied bail and called Diddy violent. He read him to filth. The judge was not happy. Okay, and said his community ties made him more dangerous, not so it's going to be hard for Diddy to rebrand himself. The judge also has letters from multiple victims who explicitly said he's a threat and allegedly wielded violence as a means of control. Diddy has access, money, and potential leverage over witnesses, and the judges don't like to be made a fool of. And if Diddy walks and does something shady again, and I think he actually will do something shady again, it reflects directly on the court. And you guys listen, the verdict of the jury threw us for a loop, but the fact that the judge said all this in court, and deny bail, I mean, come on. I think we can put
Present,
two together.
and no longer
This
has
does
a
not look
voice
like
who will
someone
pursue
that's looking to
justice
cut
for
Diddy
her
a break.
accusation.
And him being able to walk straight
As of
with
the
time
taken
served,
against
baby,
Diddy,
that's
no
cutting Diddy a
expansion of
break,
the
okay?
investigation,
So
no
why ask about
isolation
the
orders,
comparable Mann
no
Act
equipment access,
sentences?
no
Okay,
suspension
they
of
said,
attorney
listen, Tisa, there's
communication.
three possible reasons. One, judicial cover. The judge might personally feel parole is risky, but is giving the appearance of objectivity by asking both sides for precedence. That way no one can claim bias later. Now he might be appealing his decision for when he sentences him. If Diddy's team appeals any eventual sentence, the judge can say, I reviewed the sentencing ranges and outcomes for similarly situated defendants under the Mann Act, and the sentence falls squarely within that range. Or the judge also might be testing boundary. Maybe the judge is trying to find out how lenient or harsh they can go without being reversed. They could be considering probation in theory, but still leaning towards prison unless Diddy's team provides extraordinary mitigating evidence. Now let's talk about that mitigating evidence. Remember when I told you guys that Diddy's team, I believe, are trying to shut up any content creators that are still criminal with them, and they feel like if they shut down the content creators, then they can start on this rebrand. Think about it. You shut us up by July, August, September, and then you got a little bit of October to get this Mother Teresa Hail Mary that they think is going to wipe Diddy's record clean. Unfortunately, a lot of evidence that the jury wasn't, a lot of witness statements and affidavit that the jury didn't see. The judge is privy to all that, and all that is going into his decision. Okay, so again, I actually said, but do you really think there is any type of risk of Diddy walking with just parole? I said no, but I had to take it to the people that actually practice law. And they said, right now, Tisa, it is super low. And I'm like, okay, but why? Because y'all also said it was super low, that he was going to beat the Rico charger. Well, that's not true. They said the Cassie charges were super low. They said, one, the Mann Act is a serious federal charge. And even though it's sometimes used strategically in civil or hybrid cases, judges take it very seriously when paired with violence and pattern behavior. Judge Aaron, when did he was asking for bail, said not only is he violent, but there is a pattern of violence. Public sentiment, they also will take this. It's low because public sentiment and visibility are sky high, and the DOJ knows this is a credibility test. Again, remember Maureen Comey said this is chilling for victims. It will have a chilling effect. And if the judge already said Diddy is violent and a threat and denied bail, and then suddenly letting him walk would make the judge look wildly inconsistent unless new facts came to light. So what do we think about the judge? This is just my personal take. I think the judge is doing due diligence checking to see if there's any legal wiggle room. But based on prior comments, it sounds like this judge already sees Diddy as a danger, and it's just asking for case comparisons to legally reinforce whatever sentence he's already decided on. So unless Diddy pulls a legal rabbit off the hat, he's unlikely to walk with this parole. This request is probably more about sentencing justification than leniency. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Okay, what type of language, and I just want to refresh your memory, the type of language that slams the door on parole or probation. And listen, let's get into this. He said Diddy was a batterer. This is not just commentary, that is legal language or phrase. It suggests a pattern of violence, not a one-time incident. And the judge is accepting allegations as credible and maybe treating them as established facts for purposes of sentencing or bail decision. And it undercuts any claim that
and no
Diddy
longer
violent
has a
behavior
voice
is
who will pursue
isolated,
justice
provoked,
for
or
her
misunderstood.
accusation.
Judges should casually just
As of
don't
the
throw
taken
out
against
that word
Diddy,
unless they
no
want it to
expansion
stick
of the
around on
investigation,
official record. He
no
also said your
isolation
client
orders,
admitted he
no
is violent
equipment
and tried to
access,
preemptively
no
enter a
suspension
batterer
of attorney
program.
communication.
This is huge because pre-sentencing rehabilitation attempts, like enrolling in a battery program, are often seen by judges as damage control and not sincere. The fact that Diddy knew to enroll in that program shows consciousness of guilt. He anticipated legal trouble. Admission of violence undercuts any "I didn't do it" or "this was exaggerated." And if the judge believes the admission wasn't just PR but rooted in truth, it justifies custodial sentencing over any community supervision. Okay, now also the judge said this type of violence comes suddenly, quickly, and with no warning. That's a judicial finding of dangerous. They said that the phrasing means that the judge believes that he is not in control of his violence and that his behavior escalates. It's impulsive and it's unpredictable. Judges use this language to justify detention, especially in bail or sentencing memo. It also implies that even if he's calmed down, he could explode at any moment, which is true, and we can't risk that in the community. That is a direct argument against probation. Now, when you hear all that, I have to ask you, does this sound like a judge that's gonna let Diddy? I mean, let's be serious. Even though I'm scared for the Diddy goons. What are they gonna do? Hold a visual be standing outside with a boombox, begging for him to be let out of jail. I can't wait to see this. They said so again. I don't think it, or actually absolutely not. If anything, a judge is building a sentencing record that says even if this man has money, power, and influence, he is violent, he is dangerous, and he is incapable of safely existing in the community. He tried to game the system with a batter program. He admitted what he did, and I'm not playing along. Again, these statements make it legally and politically almost impossible for the judge to grant parole without massive backlash or risk if Diddy reoffends or contacts a victim after release. It's on the court. This isn't a judge looking for an excuse to show mercy. It's a judge locking in a narrative of violence, manipulation, and danger. Any future sentencing or probation denial can be backed by this exact language. So unless something drastic changes, probation or parole is extremely unlikely. You're watching a legal system slowly setting the foundation for a multi-year custodial sentence, or at the very, very least, strictly monitored. Okay, strictly monitored movements. Again, listen, at the end of the day, I don't know, it is what it is. We are expecting that Diddy will actually do some jail time. I don't think that the judge is actually going to take the time and go through all this and make all these notes just to let him out on the public. Now, did he really offend? That's a different subject. I 100% think thinks he will, but you never know. Maybe in Mark Agnifilio's loving arms, he has found a new version of himself, because we know that Mark is doing his best to uplift that man. Anyway, y'all let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later.